clicked on this video for a reason, and you're probably an entrepreneur, if I'm to guess, maybe positioning yourself as someone trying to learn some digital skills, growth operators, agency owners, or leveraging your skills to help other businesses succeed in the online space. And ultimately, you're not really where you want to be. And why is this the scenario? Because ultimately, it comes down to understanding the mental constraints limited with the barriers to entry. And that's pretty much the biggest thing which is separating us from being in our position now, where, we've been in the online space for 1, 2, 3, even 4 years, and we're still not seeing the results. When we came into the online space, we were thinking, oh, this is a get rich quick scheme. And not necessarily a get rich quick, but we build ourselves while building the wealth we've desired for us in the long term. And it's not going to take too long. We're not going to spend loads of years, and we're going to get more out of it than we would in a 9 to 5. But ultimately, for most of us, this scenario hasn't been achievable. And the main goal of why we came into this, and once again, remember, no one's asked you to do this. No one has asked you to take the path you've chosen. No one has asked you to work the nights you've worked, to spend the hours you've spent, and to try and achieve this goal for yourself and this life that you desire. And with this life we desire, it comes down to 3 things: time freedom, locational freedom, and financial freedom. But maybe we've achieved one of them, but we haven't achieved the trifecta of the trio. And this is just my opinion towards it and the way I think. I've had a psychologist who used to work with the ex-Olympics team for the US, and ultimately it comes down to the mental barriers. What can we achieve? What are we able to achieve? And what's actually possible to achieve? And we've all seen that quote, and I hope you've seen this quote where it says, if you knew anything was possible, what would you want to do? And when it comes down to that, it's the exact same thing with ourselves. But now this is where the differentiator comes in. Ask yourself, have I really done everything it takes? Have I really put my head down and maximized on all of my hours? Have I really put in the work, or am I saying I'm putting in the work and just doing the bare minimum and sitting down and relaxing and thinking, oh, why is it not me? Why haven't I achieved the place I want to achieve? Why am I not there? Why am I not sitting on the beach or sitting by the mountains, enjoying the summer breeze on my skin? And comes down to the barriers to entry. Ultimately, we want to be up here. We want to be in the top 0.001% of people. And ultimately, to get to that 0.0001% of people, we have to do what 99.999% won't do. And that comes down to understanding, how can we break through these barriers to entry? When we go through these barriers to entry, ultimately we think, oh, this is going to be lit, this is going to be so fun. But the more you realize, it's not that easy, it's not that simple. Because when you start something, 2 problems will occur, 2 more things you have to look at. And we see these people, we think, oh, they got lucky, they made it overnight. And in reality, it was never like that. In reality, they shone through. They did what no one else wanted to do. They got looked at. They lost a lot of people around them. They had to suffer. We had to go through these things where ultimately you're feeling alone. You're thinking, is this really the best for me? Do I really have to keep this person around? And it's dropping those people where we'll understand, okay, I can do this now, and I've got that pain off of me, but it's a short-term pain for a long-term solution. And once again, jumping into these barriers of entry, ultimately the trifecta comes, and for that to be achieved, we have to scale through it. Firstly comes the start. We have this high energy, we have this high impulse, we're ready to buy. We've probably seen someone, guys, I can do this for you. And you know what? Take our money, just help us. We want to achieve this goal. We've tried it and it hasn't worked. But we've tricked ourselves into thinking we gave it our all, when in reality, we worked for the first 2-3 months relentlessly. However, when it came down to the second barrier, we weren't ready to come across it. And now that's where it starts to come into the tumbler effect of why we've ended up staying in this straight line and we haven't been able to progress. ultimately right now is summer. My aim of creating these videos is to try and get as much content out there, to try and reach as many people, try and help as many people. The reason I do what I do is because I enjoy speaking to people. I get a smile if I can change your life around. If I can improve your day, improve your week, and allow you to improve others, that's amazing. But for me, I'm complete. And when it comes down to this, like, you can offer me double the amount of money of whatever I'm offering, but if I know I'm doing something immoral, I can't do it. But that's the thing. Most of us will chase the money and not the journey. And when we're chasing the money, we're getting limited because ultimately we're stuck. We're going through these barriers, we put in the work, we put in the hours, but now all of a sudden we're stuck getting to the next barrier. We're now reaching the stage where you're thinking, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you're probably sitting there lying in bed sometimes thinking, why isn't this me? Watching maybe Julian Petrolis, who's amazing, and you're probably seeing him and you're probably thinking, why isn't this me? I put in the work. This isn't easy. Tomorrow I'm going to do this. When it comes down to tomorrow, are you actually doing everything you're saying? You're saying, oh, I'm going to film content. I'm going to research a tiny bit more. I'm going to try and read a book. I'm going to do all of this. Are you actually doing all four of these? And, you know, not necessarily four, some people more, some people less, but that's the difference. The more you do, the more it adds up. The higher the volume, the higher the output. As Alex Hormozy said, just put out the most amount of volume. And this is the thing. We're getting limited because we're saying, yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to set ourselves 10 tasks that we know what we need to do. Then we'll break it down, end up doing 3 and think, oh, this isn't working for me. Why is it not? Why haven't I achieved this? And that's the thing. You're mentally thinking, I'm going to give up. I'm going to look for something else. And I may need to look for a job. It's getting tough. I don't know how to achieve this. And that is exactly where I'm here to remind you of, let's start off small. Let's have that mental reset. Think of it as monk mode. Summer's here. Hopefully you're watching this by summer. Maybe you're watching this by winter, or maybe you're watching this during a work time, a work period, or a holiday period, which is even better for you to start now. And ultimately, when everyone's enjoying themselves, everyone will have to come back to reality. Everyone will have to come back and get their money up for the next holiday. This is where we shine. This is where we get our advantage. This is where we can put out our value and let people recognize us for our value. So what do I mean by this? And it's something very, very simple. Start layering everything up. Ultimately, you haven't done anything. You haven't been as honest with yourself as possible. Break that barrier down. Start writing 15-minute increments. Go onto Word, go into Notability, anything with these type, any sort of platform when you can start writing down. Start writing down your 15-minute increments. Once we write down these 15-minute increments, all of a sudden we can start saying, you know what, today I'm going to read a book. You do this for a week. By the end of the week, you say, every day I'm going to film a piece of content. Now you're reading the book and filming the content. Now you've got this going for another week. Now you say, after I read this book, film my content, I'm also going to start researching into something new and building up my own custom GPT for my clients. Now all of a sudden you have 3 things constantly flowing. These 3 things, and once we get onto the 3rd thing, we would have had 3 weeks of our first task. It's now repetitive. We understand exactly what we're doing. So when it comes down to this, ultimately understanding and breaking it down of, layering everything up, that helps us break this barrier. And, apologies if I'm waffling, but this is just the harsh reality of things. We've said we're going to do this, we're stuck. We lie to ourselves and we say we're going to achieve it. Once we say we're going to achieve it, we never actually stick to our word and we lose our self-respect by not achieving this. And we're comparing ourselves to others, and comparison is a thief of joy. But the reality is, you just need to work harder. You, am I where I want to be in this world? Absolutely not. Have I made some progress? Yes, but am I really where I want to be? Absolutely not. And this is the harsh reality. And ultimately just start layering everything up. Understand these barriers to entries aren't tough. as I said, we want to be in the 0.001%, but we're not going to be doing what 99.99% aren't going to do. And that's where we need to understand these guys have gone through hell, and we need to sacrifice things along the way when we reach the top. But if we're not going to do that, we're never going to achieve what our ultimate goal is. So what am I really saying to you at the end of this? And if you're still watching this, thank you for your time, and not necessarily thank you to your time. I'm happy for you that you've taken the time to, maybe get a reminder of what you can achieve and what you can actually do, while understanding you're fully capable of achieving exactly what you want to achieve. And I've been surrounded by billionaires, people with hundreds of millions, and ultimately, what I've learned and my biggest trait from all of these people were you can achieve anything. And success isn't necessarily down to the materialistic things, but it's more of what can you achieve for yourself? How far can you go? How far can you really test yourself and layer everything up? The most successful people I've seen isn't about, how much work they do, it's how much stress and pressure they can handle. And that helps them break through these barriers. They're charged up, they have the energy, and they can handle it, which means when they reach this next barrier, they're not going to fall the way back down. They're going to stay on there and push through. And this is exactly what you can do. So as we're coming back to the video, everything you can do, you can achieve. If you need the right guidance, don't look for someone throwing around the money. Look for someone who will listen to you. Look for someone who will communicate with you. And when you do this as well, all of a sudden, you realize, it was worth it in the end. I just lost hope with myself. And, when we do something, do it 100%. If we're going to do something, we need to be the best at it. And if we're the best at it, we'll ultimately succeed. And, forget the competition. The only secret they have is they have their branding. And the way they've achieved that branding is understanding how to communicate their value. When you understand how to communicate your value, when you understand how to do your marketing correctly, that's what sets you apart. Your offer doesn't even need to be as good. Some of the guys who have better offers than the people you look up to, they just don't know how to communicate their value. That's why the guys we look up to, we see them quite a lot. So there's no real competition. It's just the only competition we have is with ourselves. So on this note, if you're still here, I hope you succeed. Maybe we'll speak, and maybe you'll achieve your goals sooner than later in the next 3 months. Don't be unrealistic, but don't be too realistic. When we have this constraint, we're always stuck. Think wild, make people think you're crazy, and you'll succeed. So on this note, if you're still here, I hope you win. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thank you for watching till the end. Hopefully I'll be posting more, and this is one of those things where I'm testing myself and testing you. So on this note, let's keep it going. Let's succeed.